Hey guys, it's Mike here. Today I'm going to be giving you a live demo of the DoublePulsar exploit, EternalBlue DoublePulsar, excuse me, exploit that was used in the WannaCry ransomware attacks in 2017. Before I get started, a quick shout out to Ming for inspiring the live demo with his own live demos that he's done in class on countless occasions throughout the semester. Let's get started. So as you can see here, I have VirtualBox open and I have two machines, two virtual machines. One of them is just Kali Linux, and the other one is Metasploitable 3, which is a vulnerable unpatched version of Windows 2008. And so as you may have already guessed, what we're going to be doing is using the EternalBlue tool on Kali to exploit the vulnerability in Metasploitable and gain remote access. Okay, so let's start up Kali here. And while that's loading, a little bit of background on EternalBlue. It's rumored to have been developed by the NSA. And what it does is it takes advantage of a flaw in the SMB protocol of Windows, which stands for server message block. And so the flaw allows attackers to essentially send specially crafted packets to the server, which allow them to gain remote access and then control. Cool. One important thing that is worth mentioning right off the bat is in VirtualBox, in order to allow two different virtual machines to communicate with one another, you have to click on each machine, go to Settings, Network, and you want to change this to the bridged adapter setting. Its default is the NAT. You want to switch to bridge adapter, which pretty much allows a connection between virtual machines. And then you always want to, well, you don't have to, but you want to make sure that whatever name you choose, it's the same for both. And then you want to go down to advanced, and in promiscuous mode, you want to allow all VMs. It's set to deny by default, but you want to change it. And you want to do that for both Kali and Metasploitable. So Kali's up and running. You want to make sure that you're connected to the network, obviously. So just click this. And if it allows you, you want to connect to Ethernet 0. Seems to be a bit laggy. As you can imagine, my computer is definitely not meant to handle a lot, not to mention two virtual machines running at the same time. I haven't even started running Metasploitable yet. But we will see. Can we open a terminal at least? Oh, okay, well, in the meantime, let's power up Metasploitable. Maybe we can power this down and start it over. So if this is your first time working with Metasploitable 3, then a couple of things to point out. The default password for Vagrant is Vagrant. Yep. And that'll load up. Let's check on Kali, also loading. And then once we get into the Metasploitable machine, we'll want to check the IP address. which if you're anything like me and haven't used Windows much, the command prompt command for that would be ipconfig. Yeah, okay. So if we open up a command prompt, oops, if we open up, looks like it's doing something. Kali also seems to be a bit slow. If you open up command prompt here and type ipconfig, soon enough we will get the IP address, which is 192.168.0.27. So we'll keep that in mind. We'll need that later. And awesome, finally. Okay. So let's open up a terminal window if we can. Okay, cool. So first things first, we want to make sure that we are connected to this ETH0 because that is what our Metasploitable is connected to. And to check our own IP address here, we'll do ifconfig. And we'll scroll up a bit, and we see that ours is 192.168.0.28. Awesome. Okay. So just to get set up here, a couple things that you're going to have to do. You will need to clone two Git repos. The first one is this EternalBlue DoublePulsar Metasploit repo, which will be the first link if you just Google EternalBlue DoublePulsar. And if you're not familiar with cloning, you just git clone and then the link that you'll get from that GitHub page. And then if you Google Metasploit framework, also the first link that will come up will be the second repo that we'll need. And again, you can git clone that right into here. And so this EternalBlue DoublePulsar is, that's the name of the tool that we're going to use to exploit Metasploitable. And this Metasploitable framework is pretty much a framework that's meant to allow easy access and communication with the Metasploitable machine, which we'll see in a sec. Also, what we need is to download Wine. And so doing so is a quick 3-command process, 4 actually. So what you want to do is the package add architecture i386, and then once you've done that, you want to do apt get update apt get install wine 32. And so that installation will take roughly a minute to 2 minutes, depending on how fast your computer is. Mine's on the slower end, as you might have imagined. And then something important that I always forget to do, but you really can't, is after you've installed Wine, you want to do wine config. And so what this command does is it puts in the root directory a path to the Wine application that you've just installed, which is going to be necessary when we need to use it. Okay. So once you've cloned your repos and you have everything in place and you've installed Wine, the only other thing that you need to do in terms of setup is, so if we open up Metasploit framework here, we can see that there's a lot inside here. We're particularly interested in what's inside modules. And so you can see that there's a folder called exploits. And Windows is what we're trying to exploit, and then as we said, our exploit has to do with the server message block, which is SMB. So as you can see here, I have the EternalBlue DoublePulsar tool already in here, but it's not in there by default. In fact, it and its dependencies, you're going to want to copy out of that other repo that you cloned and into that specific folder in the Metasploit framework. Yeah, so you want to grab these two from here. And a neat trick is once you've cloned the Metasploit framework, you actually can just open up this repo. It's hidden, so you don't see it when you ls. And in fact, you don't want to copy these two files, EternalBlue and deps. You want to copy them inside the MSF4 directory, and they're going to automatically populate in the Metasploit framework. But I would copy them here. So if you cd into modules and then exploits, Windows, SMB, you'll see that I've copied it inside here as well. Yeah. Okay. So once we have all of that set up, we are going to launch our MSF console, which is how we will kind of control our Metasploit framework and attack the Metasploitable machine. So we'll launch MSF console, and usually this is a pretty rigorous process for my machine. So let's hope that we can get through it successfully. Looks good so far. So the first thing we're going to do once this loads up is actually in the Metasploit framework that we've cloned. It comes with a whole bunch of scanners that we can use to scan a target machine to see if it's vulnerable to a particular exploit. So we, of course, have a specific exploit that we're looking at. And so if we say use auxiliary scanner is what we want, and SMB, and then the exploit that we're going to be looking at is labeled as so. This is actually MS17010 is the number associated with the patch that Microsoft released for this exploit. Ironically, it was released about 2 months before the WannaCry attacks, which obviously wasn't widely uploaded. So if we do that, then we can do show options, and it'll show us a whole list of settings that we have access to. The only one that we're really concerned with here is our hosts, which is essentially the target host. So if we set our host to 192.168.127, which, if you remember, is the IP address of the Windows machine that we checked. And so just to make sure that it was set properly, we can check, and yep, it changed, it's populated. So now that's all we need to do for the scanner. So if we do run, we'll see that it says that the host is likely vulnerable to MS17010, and it tells us even a little bit of information. It's a Windows Server 2008, which is correct, and it's 64-bit, which is also correct. So we should be good to go. So next what we're going to do is we're going to use exploit Windows SMB, and then our EternalBlue DoublePulsar. Okay, so this one has a few more settings that we're worried about here. So of course we still need to set our host 168.0.27. Notice that it's our host, not our host this time. That usually gets me. We also want to set the process inject to something that we're a little bit more familiar with. So I'm going to set it to explorer.exe. We want to set the target architecture to 64-bit. We want to set the payload, and this is a little bit specific, so keep a close eye. So meterpreter and then reverse TCP. So reverse TCP can be exchanged for bind TCP or any other such extension. But this is the general framework of what you want your payload to look like. You're going to set that. And then last but not least, you're going to set lhost, which is the host of the attacker, which is us in this case. And we know that our IP address is 192.168.0.28. Awesome. So now we'll show options. Our lhost looks good. Our target architecture looks good. Our rhost, process inject, and our payload. Okay, so without further ado, we'll do run, and we'll see that it's launching here, and try to get kind of a side-by-side view of what's going on here in these two windows. And this is usually where my computer tends to make it or break it. So if we get past this point, then we're home free. It survived. Yeah. So I guess since while we're waiting for this to do its magic, some common errors that I've run into while setting this up is not much goes unnoticed. That's interesting. Let's see what's forwarding. Are you sure it's wrong? Something went wrong. Unhandled page fault on read access. Can't say I've seen that before. Let's try it again. And if the error persists, it seems like it has something to do with our installation of Wine. So if that's the case, you'll get a live demo of the Wine installation. Oh, there we go. Cool. So interesting bug with Wine there. Not sure why that happened, but as you can see, we now have access to this machine in the form of a session called meterpreter, which is pretty cool. So let's test it out, shall we? What do we want to do first? We can do sysinfo just to take a look at what it is that we've gained access to. So again, it looks like this information is accurate. Windows 2008, 64-bit, awesome. We can pull up all the current processes. Yeah, there's a lot there. I believe the question mark tells us all the things I can possibly do. Yes, perfect. Okay. So we can do a lot, it looks like. Let's see. Ooh. Interesting. So I guess the most fun would be, why don't we open up a shell? Awesome. And then let's see if I can get something to pop up on this machine. It's simple, calc.exe. So that should have opened up here, and voila, it's open. So yeah, this is pretty cool. We can pretty much do whatever we want. We have root access essentially. So what else can we do? Let's try quitting out of the shell. we can, let's take a screenshot. I believe we can take a screenshot. Screenshot save to root. We can probably take a look at that. Yeah, there it is. Screenshot of that. Awesome. Yeah, I find this pretty exciting. I'm sure you do too if you're watching. But anyway, yeah, that is the live demo of the EternalBlue exploit. Actually, just to close things off, we can also do this and take a look at that other VM shut down. Yeah, so thanks for listening. This has been the live demo of the EternalBlue DoublePulsar exploit that was used in the WannaCry ransomware attacks. I hope you learned a lot, and thanks for listening.